the neuroscience of self-sabotage and behavior modification. What's going on, my high vibrational individual expressions of God on earth? This is your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 33. Tonight we're going to do the introduction to the new book, new series that breaks down self-sabotage and also breaks down the solution to overcoming the inability to take action. A lot of times we call it procrastination. We're going to break down a new study that I stumbled across that really delves into the brain science behind really narrowing down the true essence or the true causality that limits us from really taking massive action, because we tend to, based upon the science that, again, I really delve into inside of the book. But tonight we want to really lay down the foundation and give you the keys, whether you get the book or not. The purpose of tonight's class is to really expose this little almond-shaped, let's use the word organelle or organ called the amygdala. And when we talk about the amygdala, the hypothalamus, the pituitary gland, and these are the makings of the brain's reward system. But we want to narrow it down and delve into this research that was done by a gentleman by the name of Almost Novinsky, or Tursky, I guess a T-E-V-E-R, and then the word sky, S-K-Y, and Daniel, I don't know how to pronounce Daniel's last name, K-A-H-N-E-M-A-N. They actually won the Nobel Peace Prize for breaking down this the hidden frequencies, waves, verbs, and vibrations, if you want to use that vernacular, of why the brain is twice, it's 100 times more motivated to avoid losing something than it is to gain something. So your brain will fight for you to keep the $100 in your pocket, then for you to take that $100 and to invest in Bitcoin or something and increase the $100 to $200. The brain wants you to stay wherever you're at, period. Even if wherever you're at, period, is a negative habit pattern. The brain gonna fight you, bruh. The brain gonna fight you, sis. They want to keep you. The reticular activating system, which is a part of that triangle, but we're narrowing it down to the amygdala because of the science that is being revealed that breaks down the fact that the growth mindset, the things that I talk about all the time, is very difficult for people to actually implement. It's difficult to rewire the reward system of the brain. It's difficult to tap into and to literally think in a manner that allows you to regulate the nervous system. And so what this book breaks down is to give you the tools to understanding why we create excuses like no time and, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough sleep. We create these excuses to protect our current habit pattern, our current self-image. So we're talking about overcoming this overcommitting and overhelping, which are, again, coping mechanisms. The brain is smart enough, you're smart enough, I'm smart enough for us to sabotage our own selves and our own self. And the biological component that makes sure that you are very, very good at sabotaging your own success is this amygdala. Now, the study delves into the part of and breaks down the aspects of this amygdala, if you want that term, that allowed them to receive this Nobel Peace Prize because of the core component of what they call the prospect theory, which describes how individuals make decisions when facing risk. And based upon, the research, they broke down something called loss of variance. which suggested that pain of loss is psychologically way more powerful than the pleasure of gain. We would rather stay in a known hell biologically than to walk into and experience an unknown heaven. So that means that you are programmed contrary to popular belief. So until you delve into, well, for me anyway, it was extremely powerful for me to establish absolute confidence because of over and understanding how logic works, why people refuse, again, to do certain things that are really logically beneficial. And it wasn't until, again, this delves deep because this isn't anything that's new. We broke this down in Module 1 of the Life Management System. So we're not really talking about new system, but what we're talking about is intuition and instinct versus rational thinking. And what we're delving into is over and understanding, okay, you have to really understand, or it is very beneficial for you to understand the aspects of the brain that is preventing you from moving forward with taking action, regardless of what that action is, because of the amygdala, which is telling you that we want to stay where we are at, even though where we are at is something is missing. Maybe there's not enough money where you're at. Maybe there's not enough, detoxing where you're at. Maybe there's not enough reason and logic or love and compassion. Maybe there's a lack of wisdom where you're at. So you're going to settle and you're going to opt out. You're going to choose to stay where you're at because it's a lot more comfortable for you to stay where you're at. Even though wherever you're at is not providing you the ingredients that are needed for you. This is the day before Thanksgiving. And it's interesting because, I'm not really, a fan of any holiday. Birthdays, all of that is just programming. Now, sure, I like, again, I don't go out and project. I don't, like I used to in my first marriage and be all anal retentive and, browbeat my children and be very negative toward my family members. Try to tell everybody how they're going to die and go to hell if they don't do all of that. So, no, man, if you want to celebrate, do you, boo, I'm going to do me. That's the point. Create space. And you have to be able to get outside of your current belief system to be able to do that. That's the point of the class. That's the point of the book. That's the point of everything that I'm doing moving forward is to assist you with being the absolute best version of you. So you're operating in absolute confidence. You're walking in absolute power. Because that power comes from the three attributes and characteristics that's a part of the solution to all problems on earth when you understand that, okay, I have to stop sabotaging myself. And the way I do that is by, number one, I have to identify how I'm choosing to, whether I'm knowingly or unknowingly, I'm choosing to operate in a lack of internal clarity. I'm choosing not to take consistent action, and I'm choosing not to build confidence and resiliency. So I'm creating the perfect storm. I'm creating the perfect environment. By creating this environment, this negative talk, this is a amygdala-driven inner criticism that increases the threat. So the brain thinks that the threat is real. So the brain thinks that the threat of failure is real failure. The brain thinks that the threat of financial loss is financial loss. The brain thinks that the threat of hell is real hell. The brain thinks you're in hell right now. If you have the threat of hell, the brain thinks you're in hell. If you have the threat, that's why insurance is so dangerous. So that is a threat that you could be in an accident. The brain thinks you're in an accident, so it's prepared. It's releasing the chemicals into the body to prepare for the threat. It's just a threat, though. It's not real. But you're thinking and you're preparing, I want to take out insurance just in case. Bam, you just ordered it. So whatever you get what you prepare for. If you prepare for a negative habit pattern, you're going to receive a negative habit pattern. That's just the way that's the way the brain works. The brain is preparing you for adversity. And so the brain does not understand that the threat isn't real, it's just an awareness. But the brain is like, no, the threat is real. And so the brain is going to trigger a loop. It's going to create the threat response. The amygdala is going to flag danger, and it's going to release cortisol, and it's going to create tunnel vision. And your PFC, your prefrontal cortex, is going to downshift where future value fades and effort feels heavy. The domain or dopamine is going to amplify the threat. Procrastination is going to discount the future benefit, and it's going to heighten or increase the threat sensitivity level, which is going to delay the feeling of being safe. It's going to signal chronic procrastination. It's going to create avoidance, but it's going to be dressed up as high standard. It's going to be dressed up as perfectionism. So perfectionism is the number one sign that you are in a state of self-sabotage. Because when you are a perfectionist, I should say, when you're a perfectionist, you are avoiding. So you're going to raise the standard so high that you can't even meet it yourself. It is the fear that keeps you here. So the amygdala activates the prefrontal cortex to keep you stuck in checking instead of shipping. It's going to make sure that you are in a state of avoidance, delay, and distraction. Avoidance, delay, distract. Avoid, delay, distract. Avoid, delay, distract. That's the loop that lets you know that the amygdala is doing its job, the prefrontal cortex, then the hippocampus. It lets you imagine and evaluate future outcomes. And then what this does is the future you, the successful you, which is really just the another frequency version of you. There's no past, there's no future, there's just the present. So the amygdala is a threat detector. It scans for danger. But what it does is it creates the fight, flight, freeze, fawn, because it narrows your attention. It's again, the goal is to protect you. But what it does is it creates avoidance. It creates procrastination in the form of perfectionism, because perfectionism is a shield. The neuroscience behind how the inner voice, that little voice in your head that keeps you from getting ahead, it keeps you from moving forward. It's so powerful because of the way by which we, especially out of Kibelons, because we put so much emphasis on spirituality and we don't delve into the science, at least not to the level where there is no devil. That small inner voice. The neuroscience behind the inner voice is the neurochemistry. When you look at the brain's region and the neuroplasticity mechanism that shape, again, all of the little neurons, which are just little people running around in your head. When you look at how the emotional and the relationship patterns that bring about and creates the neurochemical psychological process that literally reshapes the landscape of your brain. Your brain is plastic, it's moldable. And so there are certain aspects of the brain, especially the amygdala and the prefrontal cortex and the hippocampus, that drives the emergence and the transformation, the reshaping, the rewiring of the circuitry of the brain based upon the inner voice, that little voice in your head that says, oh, man, this shit ain't going to work. Oh, man, doctor know what he's talking about. Oh, man, this is hard. That little voice in your head, we have to retrain that little voice in your head to say all things work together. That's the primary reason why I hold on so tight to Scripture. But I don't hold on to the, let's use the word, negative aspects of Scripture. I hold on to all of the Scriptures that tell me that all things work together for my good. No weapon formed against me shall prosper. I memorized all those Scriptures as a kid. I was forced to. So instead of throwing the baby out with the bathwater, chew the meat and spit out the bone, I learned how to master the inner voice, that the sabotaging aspect that was creating this, because it's ingrained. It was ingrained in me since a kid. I just turned it into my ally. I created my own spirit guide. I used my inner voice to create and tap into and reshape my own belief system throughout time. Now, I've taken my negative habit pattern and turned it into my life-sustaining pattern. And that's what I teach everybody else to do. I use numerology. I use astrotheology. I use cosmology. I use biology. I use all of the attributes and characteristics that I've learned over the years to establish what I call the neurochemical orchestra that releases dopamine, oxytocin, serotonin, and endorphins, and limits the critic. The critic is that cortisol. But the thing that connects you is oxytocin. The thing that creates stability is serotonin. The thing that creates stability and allows you to bring about and release what is called hope molecules is endorphins that are released during exercise. So I've learned to create the neurochemical orchestra that allows me to use chemicals that my body's creating anyway. But I've reprogrammed the chemicals so that way they benefit me. And I teach everybody else to do the same thing. That's what I've been teaching. Now we're at a higher level of awareness based upon understanding the biological effects of prolonged high cortisol level. It impairs the hippocampus. It impairs your memory. It impairs your learning. And it impairs your ability to be flexible. It depletes the prefrontal cortex ability to function. And so when you have an overabundance based upon living in a state of avoidance, you overreact to minor issues and you perceive trauma through what they call trauma echoes. In other words, it's just a way by which you are able to limit your own success because you have a heightened sense of scanning. You're hyper vigilant. We're scanning for danger. We're scanning for failure. We're scanning for inadequacy. So you find whatever you're looking for. You have this chronic, not you personally, of course, overreaction to non-issues. In other words, we'll take a molehill and turn it into a mountain. We've all heard that saying before, turning a molehill into a mountain. That's what that means. That means that we take something that's a non-habit pattern and we turn it into a pattern because we think about it over and over and over and over again. And that's how we self-start. That's the loop. So there is a neurological landscape that creates sabotage. The amygdala, the prefrontal cortex. There's another aspect of the brain called the ACC, which is the anterior cortex and the hippocampus. All of this, again, they all work together. The goal is not to focus on just naming parts of the brain. That's a biology class. The goal is to teach how do we use the brain to establish success. So that's the problem. Before we go on to the solution, let me make sure that we understand that there's a neuroplastic loop that most people are trapped in, but it's negative. So we can take that same loop and we can disrupt it and turn that negative loop that you're in. I call it negative. And again, we've been talking about this for years. But we want to understand the practice of, some people use mindfulness, some people use breath work, some people use what I call cognitive reframing, neurofeedback. All of that is great. All of that is awesome. But we want to simplify this thing into 3 easy steps that I've learned that has just put me in a state of what I call absolute confidence. Even in the midst of I've been in total, let's use the word financial, especially downhill for the last 2 years. And yet I've been able to maintain my brain because I understand how to stop chasing validation. I understand how to get out of this heightened sense of stress. I'm aware of it. I know that it's there, but I understand that we bring about what we think about. I know that life is cyclical. So I have to learn how to use these 3 keys to really, really rewire my emotional activity that's going on inside of my brain. I couldn't depend upon anyone else because it was an inside job. And nobody was in my head but me. So my wife couldn't help me. The reverend, the doctors, the bishop couldn't help me. Nobody could help me but me. And that's the way it should be. So the first thing that I did was I got deeper inner clarity. The second thing that I did was I maintained consistent action. The third thing that I did was I became more authentic. I narrowed my authenticity. Let's break these 3 down really, really quickly because this is the solution. So we broke down the biological aspect of the problem. Now, again, that's just surface level. The book will go into a lot more detail because it's very, very important that you understand that the brain will sabotage everything that you're doing because the brain just wants to keep you safe. It doesn't want you to thrive. It wants short-term relief of a threat. It wants instant gratification. So it overrides long-term goals. It makes sure that all of the survival systems hijack all the long-term systems. So all your planning, all of you using your focus, your discipline and order, everything is going out the window because the brain is saying, we got to keep this dude safe. He's putting himself in risk because he wants more money. He's putting himself at risk because he wants to get healthy. He's putting himself at risk because he wants to go back to college. He don't know how hard he want to go back to college to get his degree. Man, that's you know how long it's going to take. So the brain thinks it's helping you out, man. The brain's like, man, we got to help this nigga out. He don't know what he's doing. He's trying to mess up everything that we worked for. So the brain literally, honestly, and that's why I love researching this stuff, because the brain, it really believes it's helping you. But the brain is like, man, let's help this dude out. He don't know what he's doing. He didn't drunk that purple Kool-Aid. He listens to Brother Will, some other Reverend Dr. Bishop. This nigga would have lost his mind. So when you understand the neuroscience of the brain, everything starts to make sense. The brain is your friend. It's trying to help you. But you can tell that 8-year-old version of you that, hey, I got it from here, man. I appreciate it. Thank you for your service, dog. I got it from here. What is internal clarity? Now, I've been doing internal clarity for 30 years. That's what the Dear Community Report, everything I do is all about internal clarity. But I'm talking about, when you talk about internal clarity, it's a mindset. It's not, man, it's not a doing. You don't like change. It's permanent, bro. It's a permanent mental disposition. That's why it's so dangerous, because it's so powerful, because it's permanent. It has nothing to do with nobody else. It is when you understand what you are designed in life, you have absolute, I'm talking about bulldog tenacity, because you are so confident. There is no reverend, no doctor, no monkey, no squirrel, no demon. Nothing can shake your confidence. Because what you've done is you've narrowed down, you've niched down, and you've established something because you've analyzed yourself so much. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that when it comes to compassionately researching etymology, I don't give a monkey's beat about what the end game is. I'm not afraid, because at the end of the day, I just like understanding, overstanding, and understanding how things work. Truth. They hide the truth from us. They believe that our brains are not capable of understanding truth. So when you consider narrowing down to the core attributes and characteristics through inner clarity that are automatic, it's like breathing. You don't even think. I don't have to think about it. Compassion is like, I don't even notice it. I'm a compassionate person. I'm a 6. All of the attributes and characteristics of the 6 are automatic for me. And so, but my brain treats my attributes and characteristics as if I implement them, I'm going to lose something. That's why choosing to be your true, authentic self feels so emotionally difficult. You would rather be, the brain says, hey, be fake, bruh. Be fake, sis. Because the brain believes that if you choose to be 100% authentic, which is number 3, then the brain thinks that you can't take number 2, which is automatic action. You just automatic. It's like breathing. Like, try to suffocate yourself. Just try. Right now, hold your breath. Okay, maybe not right now. After the show. I want you to hold your breath and see if you can hold your breath. Your brain will force you to take in oxygen. You cannot. The brain overrides and say, Negro, breathe. Take in some breath. You can hold your breath. You may pass the bump out. That's the brain's way of saying, hey, let's knock this mother bleep out. So that way the ANS, the automatic nervous system, can take over, because this fool's trying to kill itself. If you hold your breath so long, you would just pass out. And then the automatic nervous system would just kick in to keep you alive. So you're designed. But the brain treats authenticity as a threat, and it treats it like it's real. That's why choosing to be authentic, choosing to marry yourself, feels so emotionally difficult, because you're not making a business decision. See, you are making a spiritual evolutionary decision to move forward, not only spiritually but financially. But the evolutionary survival mechanism that is designed to keep you safe doesn't believe because you've been fake your whole life. We all have been fake. Nobody gave you your life path number at first. Nobody told you to take a personality test. Nobody gave you your numerology report. Nobody told you that these are your innate attributes and characteristics. These are not events. These are not situations. You was born with this. Nobody told you that. Nobody told you that you was born with a gift. And this gift will take you before kings. The only space on this planet is for gifts. There's no space on this planet for personalities. I love your personality. Your personality is all awesome. But the planet is designed for purposes. So as long as there's personality, as long as there's more personalities instead of more purpose, the planet will be upside down. The Bible says your gift will make room for you, not your personality. There's no room on the planet for personalities, but everybody has a personality that they're promoting. What if everybody was only promoting their purpose, bump their personality? What if everybody woke up tomorrow and only promoted their purpose, their innate attributes and characteristics that they was born with, not what you went through, not what situation. See, we promote products and services and information based upon life events, based upon learned behavior. That's cool, man, but that's a fad. That's a gimmick. It fades over time. You would like mothers promote their children, then the children grow up and leave, and then they're not children no more. So what they got to do? So if you was an alcoholic, okay, you're promoting substance abuse, but you wasn't born like that. You learned it, but there's something else that you was born with, and it wasn't alcoholism. Even if you got a propensity for alcoholism based upon your genetic structure, that is epigenetic. That is a neurochemical enhancement to your basic foundational energy imprint based above the grid. If you want to use a Christ lunar germ seed oil grid, the crystalline grid, if you want to use that term. In other words, the stars was in a certain fixed position when you came into this planet, based upon the city that you was born in, based upon the time that you was born, based upon your name that was given, and that created an imprint on your soul. That's your purpose. So now you're supposed to specialize in assisting people that are exactly like you. See, no one on the planet wants to feel like they're just a number. All of your customers, they want to feel like that they're your only customer. So if you got a customer and you go do, let's take my boy, Brother Jibbiday. If you go, Brother Jibbiday, go out and he's helping a customer. He's doing the landscaping. That customer wants to feel like he is Brother Jibbiday's number one customer and his only customer. He wants premium. He wants the best treatment. That's how I feel. I go somewhere, I want to be treated like I'm royalty. Well, your customers expect the same thing. There's an old saying that a person who chases two rabbits catches none. The person, if you chase two rabbits, both will escape. The point is, to override self-sabotage, you got to have crystal clarity. That takes you to number 2, consistent action. If you notice over the years, I've talked about a lot of things, but I always come back to first base. You see, if you do the research, could you imagine if you do what gives you absolute confidence? What would happen if tomorrow morning you only did, if you identified the specific product, service, information, the subject, whatever the gifts, like it's your life path number, it's really easy to identify. That's what you should be doing. Because the life path numbers also include smaller niches inside of that. I'm born in September. So discernment, that's my gift. I'm born on the 15th. 1, independent. 5, fun-loving. 6, compassion. I'm born in the year that comes out to the number 3. So, or the number 6, I should say. And so all of that creates my purpose. I'm very creative, fun-loving, compassionate, creator. There's a lot of different ways to create. I can create from talking. I can create from writing. I can create from singing. There's a lot of different ways to create. My primary way of creating is through communication, because that's part of the six. So I'm the best in the world, or I feel like I'm the best in the world. I have absolute certainty, which allows me to take consistent action. Because I know that I love research, and I love discernment. I love exposing the things that most people can't see. It is that love of discernment that comes from my gift, that comes from the birth month. That allows me to take, but I need clarity of that so that way I can take action, which allows me to be authentic. So in order to override everything that we talked about, but we got a concern. What's the concern? The concern is nobody really understands what they're up against. What does that mean? Do you honestly think that your brain's ability to hijack and control all of your plans? Otherwise, behavior modification would be easy. There would be no therapist. There would be no psychologist. There would be, if we really could break the cycle of this negative habit pattern, excuse me, I wouldn't be doing the show tonight. I wouldn't be. I've made my 30 years. I made an income and getting paid very well because I know perfectionism, I know procrastination, I know people pleasing. I know at the basic core and at the basic bottom line, everybody wants to be loved. We all want to be liked. I do too. We can say that, oh yeah, no, not me, brother, and all of that stuff. Everybody on this planet, nobody wants to be the bad guy. Nobody wants everybody to hate them, not love them, not support them. So when you move towards something that is uncertain, whether it's a big goal or whether it's a new relationship, whether you want to change in your routine, your amygdala, which is the part of the brain that scans for danger, it interprets that as a threat. Anytime you want to change for the better, your amygdala says, no, Negro, we ain't doing it. So you get nervous. Go up and try to find a beautiful woman that's walking in the mall. If you're single and you're like, damn, she's fine, man. She looks on the outside like everything that you want. What happens when you get ready to go up and talk to her? You get all nervous, palms get sweaty. Most Negroes don't even make the approach. It's not because you're afraid. It's not because you don't know how to talk. It's because the amygdala says danger. It's not a danger because it's a danger to you. It's a danger to your current habit pattern of being single. So in that state, once the amygdala is activated and that stress hormone is released, that cortisol is released, then your prefrontal cortex kicks in. That's the region of the brain that handles all your long-term planning, all your long-term thinking, all your self-control. It goes offline. The prefrontal cortex is cut off by the amygdala anytime you say and you move and you plan to do anything that is outside of your current habit pattern, especially if you want to improve upon the current habit pattern. That the amygdala says disconnect the prefrontal cortex, create tunnel vision. You can no longer think reasonably and logically. Now the future outcome of getting the digits of the dream girl, they make the future look like, oh, dog, she's going to reject you. The future of pursuing that business and making more money, oh, dog, that's going to be a waste of money, homie. Stay at McDonald's working at 9 to 5. The amygdala destroys all long-term future success. It's focused only on immediate safety and release. Immediate safety and stop thinking about success. Cut it off. Destroy it. Then dopamine kicks in. When you're under stress, yeah, the same thing that helps you beat the best, the reward system. When you're under stress, now the reward system kicks in for short-term distraction, comfort, procrastination. See, because your brain is trying to soothe you. It makes you feel calm. Man, the way that this shit is set up inside of your brain, now it really, what these two psychologists and scientists broke down in this study, really, now I go balls to the wall to override my amygdala and keep my prefrontal cortex activated. I live in my desire to fulfill state. I force myself. To limit my distractions. I force myself. I've been doing this now. Now I understand even more. The detoxes, all the weird shit I do. The family and friends say, "Oh man, you on one of those these detoxes again?" Yeah, exactly. Why? Because I'm taking the trash out. Because the body heals itself if you just remove the waste and add proper nutrients. The body takes care of itself. All this is because mucus, trash in the body. Get it out. But your reticular activating system, nah, bruh, can't do that. You see, avoidance brings short-term relief. Every time you avoid taking action, every time you quit on yourself, you get that dopamine hit. Ding. It's just like every time you go on Facebook and swipe. Ding. Every time you go on social media. Ding. That's why everybody loves social media. It's giving you dopamine. It's giving you an award for avoidance instead of what it's designed for, which is giving you an award for accomplishment. You are getting a reward for avoidance instead of getting a reward for accomplishing something positive. Avoidance. So your internal reward system is being used against you because it should be there and it should be released when you have accomplished long-term goals. When you've accomplished something real instead of avoiding something. It should be released when you accomplish. So the brain is a pattern detection machine. It clings to what it knows. Even if what it knows is self-defeating. So my brothers and my sisters, inside this book is all the keys. I have another audio as well that goes a little bit deeper into the same thing that we talked about tonight, just dealing with the neurological aspects of what happens inside of the brain that really limits and prevents us from moving forward. Because your short-term comfort over long-term success, sticking with old negative habit patterns instead of and with But we're going to avoid change because the reticular activating system, because of the amygdala. But thankfully, the brain is moldable. The brain is plastic. So now it is time for you to get internal clarity, take consistent action, and will always be 100% authentic. Because doing that allows you to override and break the cycle of inconsistency and being rewarded for sabotaging yourself instead of enhancing and magnifying yourself. I'm not going to sit up and lie to you. I've been in this game for 60 plus. And I would love to be able to just snap my fingers, manifest $1 million, snap my fingers, be in perfect health, have that six-pack without all the exercise. It's automatic. Be the wisest man in every room I walk in. Be able to avoid all of the, negative habit patterns, arguments, disagreements with family and friends, with the wife. Just be an expert. I know everything that I'm supposed to do. But self-sabotage is an unconscious survival strategy, and it's rooted and it's grounded inside of the amygdala. It modulates your neuron responses towards aversion or an avoidance. It affects the prefrontal cortex in a way that tunnel vision is activated. Cognitive dissonance, past trauma, low self-esteem takes the stage. Feeling safe comes from this nervous system that shifts out of the higher self and shifts you back and keeps you in the lower self. Every time you step outside of the lower vibration to experience the frequency, range, and the verb, if you haven't developed the emotional capacity to hold that electrical magnetic wattage, if you do not have the capacity to hold, if you're running like on a 120 instead of, like most houses are wired for 220. Some of the old houses back in the day were wired for the lower voltage. You can't bring in these new appliances and run them on an old system. The fire hazard. That old wiring can't support that higher voltage. It's the same way electrically, it's the same way spiritually. You have to rewire your whole house. You have to rewire your whole brain in order to carry the new electrical magnetic frequency. You must increase your ability. You must increase your emotional capacity. And the way that you increase your emotional capacity, the way that you're able to hold more emotion, more electricity and magnetism, this higher frequency range, is you have to be able to tap into the internal clarity. We say that you are the vibrational, you have the emotional capacity of God. You have the emotional capacity of Source. You are a miniature version. The neuroscience behind over and understanding that you have the same energy capacity as the you and I verse of the universe. That requires you to level up or expand your current mindset. You have to retrain, rewire your brain. If you do not retrain, if you do not rewire your brain, what happens is your brain will not be able to hold the emotional capacity. You have to surround yourself with supportive people. Be authentic. Accept the physical and the mental task of improving and expanding your consciousness. That is the only way for you to operate and vibrate on a level where there is no devil. Brothers and sisters, this is your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 33. Pick up the book and the audio. Don't forget, I got my Thanksgiving Day sale for the previous 4 books that I just finished. YouTube videos are out. I've been posting it all over TikTok. The 4 books for $100. That's my Thanksgiving Day sale. This book is not included in that sale, but you can also pick up this book in audio for $199. The Thanksgiving Day sale includes the 4 previous books that are each priced at $99. You get all 4 with a payment of 1. So let's go to the website. You already know what to do, masterteacher30.com. Click on that link that says donation, make the one-time payment of $99 to pick up the 4 books for the Thanksgiving Day sale. And you also want to pick up this one, which is a cost for $199. I love you. I appreciate you. We're going to see you at the top. God bless.